Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. I know you're all busy, so we're going to make this a good one today, all right? We're going to dive into Recast Studio. It's a tool kind of claims that you can take like your podcast
Yeah.
and turn it into, a content machine,
Yeah.
basically. And we're all about working smarter, not
Absolutely.
harder. Right.
Yeah, and what I think is really interesting about Recast Studio is that it really taps into this challenge I think a lot of podcasters face, which is finding the time to repurpose their content effectively. They make a pretty bold claim, taking your single podcast episode, turning it into this treasure trove of marketing content.
Automatically. Okay, so let's unpack that a little. What exactly are we talking about? We're going from one finished episode to,
So think short video clips, optimized for YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, even Facebook. We're talking detailed show notes with timestamps. Imagine blog posts that practically write themselves, social media captions that sparkle, email newsletters that your listeners will actually want to open, even help with crafting catchy episode titles.
oh, that's a lot. And you're saying Recast Studio says they can do all this without me lifting a finger.
That's the promise.
And that's quite a promise.
It is, and it really speaks to, I think, a pain point that a lot of creators have, which is, staying consistent with quality content across all these different platforms. It's a struggle.
I can see how this is a game changer. Instead of me, like, hunched over my laptop, I could be out creating more awesome podcast content or, I don't know, spending time with my family or something. But the big question is, can it really live up to the hype? And that's what we're here to figure out. So they're saying they can take us from, like, frazzled content creators to, streamlined marketing gurus or something, all thanks to AI. And I don't know about you, but
Yeah.
I'm always down for a shortcut. So how does Recast Studio actually work?
Well, the key here is really automation. Imagine, if you could hand off all of those tedious, repetitive tasks, the ones that eat up all your time, but don't necessarily, require your creative spark. You know what I mean? So that's where Recast Studio comes in. And they're like,
Right.
just leave the transcribing, leave the captioning, the formatting, all that stuff. Leave it to me.
Okay, all right. Because let's be honest, no one got into podcasting because they love transcribing. Am I right?
Right.
So they take care of the grunt work. But then what? What does that free me up to do?
Well, that's where I think it gets really exciting. Suddenly, you're not bogged down by all that little stuff.
Right.
You've got all this bandwidth freed up. You can be working on your next killer episode, coming up with new episode ideas, brainstorming. You could work on crafting your narrative, like really finessing the voice of your podcast, really connecting with your audience, on that deeper level.
So you're saying they're basically giving you, like, hours back in your day.
That's the idea.
In fact, their marketing material actually uses that language, like hours of work in minutes,
Yeah.
I got to be honest. Part of me is always a little skeptical. Like, is it really that easy?
Sure. And I think it's important to remember that no tool is a magic bullet, right? It's about, finding that balance between speed and control.
Okay.
So yeah, Recast might be great at, automating those tedious tasks. But ultimately, your creative input, that's still going to be essential.
So it's not just a matter of, like, pushing a button and then suddenly I've got this, like, perfectly branded content that's going to, magically appear everywhere.
Yeah, no, it's not quite that simple. Think of it more like a partnership, Recast Studio can handle the heavy lifting, but you're still going to step in and fine-tune things, make sure that the final product really reflects your vision and ultimately is going to resonate with your listeners.
Okay, so it's not about replacing my creativity. It's more like freeing it up.
Yeah.
Okay, let's dive into some of the specifics now.
Yeah.
One thing that jumped out at me, Recast Studio talks about creating like 30 plus viral clips from a single podcast episode.
Yeah.
First of all, what makes a clip viral?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right? It's not just about the length of the clip.
Yeah.
A truly shareable clip, it's got to, capture something. Maybe it's a moment of raw emotion. Maybe it's a surprising insight that you share. Maybe it's just like a clever turn of phrase or a well-timed joke that leaves people wanting more. I think the question here is, can Recast actually identify those golden nuggets within your episode?
But it's got to be able to find those little moments that make people want to hit the share button and say, you have got to listen to this. Ooh, okay, so let's see. It can find them? Can it package them in a way that actually reflects my brand? Like, I don't want my clips to look like every other generic video out there.
Right, and that's where, customization comes in. They have this feature. It's called the Advanced Editor. And it seems like they've put some thought into really giving you control over the look and feel of your content.
Okay, so let's talk about this advanced editor. What can I actually do with it? Like, really make it my own, or is it just
a few preset templates?
right?
So it's like having this like mini design studio tucked away inside this AI.
Yeah, kind
I
of.
like it. But, with all this talk about viral clips and fancy editors and stuff, it makes me wonder about the kind of like the practical stuff, like SEO. How does Recast Studio handle SEO? Because, as podcasters, we want people to actually find our content, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And it seems like Recast Studio gets that. They really emphasize the SEO benefits. It's kind of baked into the whole process. So we're talking automatically generated transcripts, show notes that are, optimized for SEO, even blog posts that are like keyword friendly. So they're ready to climb those search engine rankings.
Okay, but break it down for me. Like, why should someone listening to this, why should they care about SEO?
Well, I mean, think about it this way. You've poured your heart and soul into creating this podcast.
Right.
You got all these amazing insights, these hilarious stories, these, expert guests. But if no one can find it, what's the point?
Right.
SEO is, I don't know, it's like this little boost that helps the right people find you,
Yeah.
Someone out there is looking for exactly what you're talking about in your episode. And Recast wants to make sure that, you're the first thing they see.
So they're basically doing like all the behind the scenes work to make me like a podcasting rock star.
There you go.
Okay, I like it. One more thing I wanted to touch on. I noticed in the marketing materials, they had this section called like
alternatives to Recast Studio. And they actually list out some of their competitors, which you don't see every day.
Right.
Why do you think they do that?
I think it's a smart move. It shows that they're confident in their product,
Okay.
But it also, I think, acknowledges the fact that, there's no one tool out there that's going to be perfect for everybody.
So by listing those alternatives, like, you mentioned Headliner, Descript, a few others, they're basically saying, hey, we think we're great, but, do your research. Don't just take our word for it.
I like that. It's good to see that kind of transparency. From a company,
Yeah.
So it seems like at the end of the day, Recast Studio is offering a pretty compelling solution, I think, for podcasters who are, maybe feeling a little overwhelmed by all the demands of content creation and everything else.
For sure, yeah. I mean, tools like Recast, they have the potential to be real game changers, freeing up your time and energy so you can focus on what you actually enjoy doing.
Which is creating awesome audio content.
But at the end of the day, it is just a tool. Remember that. The heart of your podcast, your unique voice, your perspective, all that stuff. That's what really resonates with your audience.
Yeah. I mean, you said it best to the top of the show, we're all about working smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
And this seems like a tool that can really help us do that. So if you're ready to kind of, unlock that hidden potential of your podcast and get those precious hours back in your day, maybe Recast Studio is the sidekick you've been waiting for. Yeah.
As always, though.
The decision is yours. We're just here to give you the info. You bring that creative magic. Until next time, happy podcasting.